Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen, and well, lo and behold, the gold market is certainly rallying, as is silver, and it's due to very specific reasons, because of course gold and silver have been held down by the banks for quite some time now. I believe it's been in about a bull market since 2012, but artificially bear, and we are looking at a price right now of about $1,311 for an ounce of gold. And we've recently been reporting on the fact that the stock market is going down. And I have to say, this looks to me like people are flooding their money. I think it was $30 billion pulled out of the stock market in the last 10 weeks alone. I think it looks to me like people are flooding the assets, flooding gold and silver with their money that they're pulling out of the stock market. What do you think?
Yeah, of course they do. That's what the big guys have been doing for a while. And of course, the biggest guys, they always have had their wealth insurance. They don't tell everybody that they have a whole bunch of physical metal laying around. They might say what their position in ETFs are. Of course they would. But you wouldn't see like what the actual physical metal holdings are, like the actual physical that they hold in their hand or in a safe somewhere, you know, that they stored away. Now, there was an interesting move just recently, and I call it the Jackson Hole sell-off. What it is, it's a $2 million trade, no, 2 million ounces trade that happened around 9:41 a.m. On the 25th, so just a day before the Jackson Hole Symposium started. And of course, during the Jackson Hole Symposium, I've been looking at articles coming out of that. It's all a talk about more QE, more money printing when the crisis hits again. And of course, they've been talking about that the crisis will come at the Jackson Hole Symposium. Meanwhile, of course, Janet Yellen has said that we will never see a crisis in our lifetime. So,
she was delusional. I mean, she ended up in the hospital right after that.
It's just double speak. Like, of course, they're not delusional. These guys know what they're doing. Well, actually, don't really understand how money really works. Money is a complex system, as Jim Rickards said. It's not this equilibrium theory, which everything will just balance itself.
Well, I would actually say that they know exactly how money works, and that's why they use it against us and use it for the benefit of the central bankers and not the individuals, because, you know, it shoves everyone into debt, like vast amounts of debt. Well, you know?
They have a huge problem, first of all. They use these old dead theories that they're believing that they could just manipulate this interest rate price and then suddenly balance the whole business cycle and everything, which is completely flawed. Like, we're living in such a complex system today that there's no way the central bank could really do anything. It needs to release the setting of the interest rate to the free market. Let, you know, everybody, you know, vote up and down what the current interest rate should be, not, you know, controlling it. It's just insane that we are letting them control the whole monetary system.
Well, I mean, right down to the details, I really do believe that we should have a competing currency system with vast diversification and the demand of individuals, businesses, stores, to use the currency that they wish. And if everyone's using gold, then
no, that'd be too scary, Josh. Don't try to think like that.
Too scary for freedom.
We need legal tender laws, Josh, to make sure that we have one solid currency.
Yeah, to shove us all into further debt and central plan us to death. And you know, it's interesting because there's been a lot of manipulation of gold and silver, as I mentioned at the beginning. Last year in 2016, Deutsche Bank was caught twice in a court of law manipulating the price of both gold and silver, and they were obviously collaborating with banks like HSBC, Scotia Bank, BNP Paribas. The list goes on and on and on. Bank of America. It really does go on a lot. And they were caught red-handed. And, of course, you also have the ESF, the Exchange Stabilization Fund, which we've gone into, which no one seems to want to report on, which is also doing very similar
Nobody has a clue what they're doing with gold or the manipulation of it. Of course, in their old mandate, we went through it. They blatantly tell that they have a part of the organization, actually, that are set to go after, you know, manipulating physical gold price in order to, you know, keep the value of the US dollar stable, right? So it all comes down to, you know, what these guys are doing behind the scenes. Now, what the real gold price should be, and I've been doing some calculations. If you look at 100%, like if the any currency or the US dollar should be backed by gold price should be around almost $50,000 an ounce. If you really calculate, and that's just the M0. If you go after, if you were to calculate all money printed debt and everything in M3, I think I came up with an insane number. I have to try to do the calculations. It's a crazy number anyways. Now, what is happening with the gold price, of course, it's moving right now because you got the stock price sell-off, which is completely normal. It might, when you get a real collapse, what's going to happen is going to have all this margin debt that, everybody's gone out into debt to buy stocks and so on, and all these types of, like even ETFs and everything. What's going to happen is they're going to have what's called margin calls, so they're going to have to sell off in order to pay back that debt. So they're going to sell off a ton of assets. And gold is going to also go down with it when the big crash is happening. But then, of course, it's going to strengthen again because it's always wins. We saw that in 2009.
That's what I was kind of getting at before. I just want to get to what I was saying there was that when you see all this manipulation of gold and silver all these years, and it's been held down like this, at the same time as, at least last updated, there's about an 11% gain in physical sales of gold, all while they print ETFs in order to, they're really bringing the price down. They're trying to make an investment out of an insurance.
Yeah, well, we talked about how it was a massive actual decrease in sales of ETFs, but then it was an increase in physical that actually brought up the demand.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm getting at is that in the end, as we're coming to the end of this cycle, we're coming to the end of a cycle in the markets, we're coming to the end of a cycle in the monetary system, something that should have happened long ago, but that's all part of the big elaborate scheme that's being pulled off, especially over the last, I'd say, since the recession, it's been at the peak.
Well, the average is about 35 to 40 years that they could keep a fiat currency system going. Well, if you calculate 40 years from 1971, it would be 2001.
Interesting.
No, 2011. Sorry, 2011. So we're way past the threshold of the average, lifespan.
It's interesting, yeah, because it happened right around the time that gold started getting, I mean, it was manipulated before, but it started getting so over the top manipulated. And of course, we had Stephen Kendall on at the beginning of last year talking about how much it has been manipulated and where it should actually be.
Yeah, he was talking about 56. He was Stephen was saying 56.
Yeah, absolutely. And as it comes to the end of this cycle, like you mentioned, it's going to go down, but it's going to bounce up incredibly because once those chains are broken from the banking system, which is going down as the fiat empire falls, we are going to see a massive rise in the value. And you have to look at what are the elitists doing? What are the top richest people doing in the world? Well, they're putting so much money into gold and silver right now because they know what's happening, and you can't forget they're also putting a lot of money into things like Bitcoin as well because the money is flooding out of the stock market. The money is, people are trying to protect themselves as they should, and as individuals that aren't as well off as these big bigwigs are, they should be doing the same thing.
Yeah, well, meanwhile, you have BNN and other, business outlets coming out there and saying like, oh, wow, it's, this is the big buying opportunity for stocks. You got to get in there. You got to trick the sheep to run in and, buy the stocks high and then
everything's
panic and sell it low. That's always what they do, these Wall Street people.
It reminds me of like trying to make like one of those volcanoes for like a school science project or something. And it erupts. I mean, it's going to erupt. This bubble's going to burst. And when we're looking at the housing market, the auto industry, the oil industry, we're looking at every single market out there that's being heavily manipulated by the hand of the state and all this debt and derivatives. At the same time, I mean, people are saying, wow, it looks so great. And as we keep going into, yeah, it looked great in 2007 as well. And look what happened there. And this is going to be epic in comparison with 2007 and 2008.
Let me make a correlation between what's happening with we've been talking about the Yellowstone supervolcano. Well, NASA right now has set together a team to actually try to stop the volcano from erupting. So this is like kind of what the central bankers are trying to do. They're trying
so it builds up even more pressure and blows up that much force?
They said even that if they're trying to drill to let out the pressure, it might blow at that time. So listen, guys, this is just like people trying to fight the natural forces, which is like the natural force of the market. You like too much money flood into one place, and then you want to make some money and sell out. Well, everybody wants to make money, right? And then it collapses.
Well, it's funny
natural
because
cost of like buying, low and selling high. That's what everybody wants. But then only a couple will be able to sell high because the price is going to drop because demand is going to like plummet through the floor.
Oh, what you just mentioned reminds me so much of like these idiots that were trying to clash atoms and use CERN to clash atoms and create another universe on Earth, which would kill us all. And if they're successful, we'd all be dead. And it just reminds me of how much we should not be putting our lives and everything that comes with our life in the hands of big collectives. We should be focusing on it ourselves, being self-responsible, and not putting our lives into the hands of idiots. Because I mean, there's evil people and there's idiots, and there's the combination of two is so incredibly dangerous. And what we're looking at, like you said, with the Yellowstone volcano, kill us all, possibly, with the clashing of atoms to create a new universe, kill us all, possibly. And then with what we're seeing with the monetary system and the markets, it's the same thing. We're putting everything in the hands of idiots. Central planning, we're being centralized into oblivion. And then they're trying to bring out things like the centrally planned cashless system and with the SDR to, come to save us all by using the same tactics at a much more dangerous scale.
Taking all our money.
Yeah, by taking all of our money. And I really just the bottom line is gold. There's a lot of manipulation in gold, but long term, after this system goes down, we will see an end to this manipulation, at least until we're stupid enough to fall back into it.
As I said, like, listen, gold is not an investment, silver is not really an investment unless you buy silver stocks and gold stocks. Please just buy it, keep it in your safe, and that's
as an insurance. It's an insurance. You insure your wealth with gold.
Just forget about it. If you are sitting there and worrying about the price, you don't get gold and silver then.
Yeah, you don't understand gold and silver. Well, I mean, you should diversify, of course, but I know we're going to get it because we always do it on these reports. So let me just say, because if I don't say it in this report, I'm going to get 100 comments, and it's really annoying. Yes, you cannot eat gold, you cannot eat silver, but as I say in almost every report I do, food, water, shelter, just self-sustainability, self-responsibility, financial responsibility, defense, so you're not getting things or gathering things for the toughest guy on the block, and then sound money, because most people today are not self-dependent, or independent, I should say. Most people are not independent. People living in cities are not going to go out and hunt for animals. They're not going to go out and harvest crops. You have to depend on your ability to, take care of yourself, because if you keep looking for the government to take care of you because of the problems of the government, then you will continually perpetuate all these problems forever. So, yes, you will need gold and silver to buy things. Bitcoin as well. People will doubt. You can check out our videos on that subject as well. Diversification is not a bad thing.
It's very simple. It's wealth insurance is gold and silver. And then health insurance is, of course, you eating healthy, you taking care of yourself. And then you got food and water insurance, we could call it. Survival insurance. That's called survival insurance, which is the storage of food. That is so important. So let's make it very simple so people understand it and get it. It's all about insuring yourself.
Absolutely. And being responsible, because liberty is the basis of life itself. If you, the only person in the world that you truly have control over is yourself, and without that, what's the point? You lose the basis of life itself. And in the end, all fiat currency eventually reverts to its intrinsic value of zero. It always has, it always will. Nothing's going to change that fact. This is just a basis of what a monetary system is when it's manipulated into oblivion, quantitative easing, fractional reserve, and it'll always go that way. And gold has historically always stood out as a great insurance of wealth, as for centuries and millennia. Gold
doesn't disappear.
Yeah, and it's based in scarcity and the demand of said currency and money. And it's really important that we are able to protect ourselves, because no one else is going to protect us. We have to protect ourselves. Other people will just take advantage and shove us into further debt and control us. And that will be the end of that. And obviously, unfortunately, over the centuries, people keep bouncing back to that same old practice of, central planning and manipulation. And
it's just a cycle.
Yeah, it's just a cycle, and we need to break free from that cycle. So thanks for going into this with us, John. Until next time, check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, we can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored by YouTube as the Anti-Defamation League comes in and starts flagging all of our content as apparent hate speech, which is ridiculous. And also check our Bitcoin address in the description and the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And obviously check me out at Josh Sigurdson, and check John out at The Economic Truth at steemit.com. That's steemit.com, the future of social media, as the dinosaur social medias bury themselves by censoring people and shooing people away. Steemit is where you can make cryptocurrencies via the upvote of your post and the demand. Steem, that is. It's a great innovation in the blockchain, which I really hope people check out. And also check out John's new book, Canada, the Greatest Economy in the World, ? At Amazon.com. We'll put it up in the description and the comments as well as on the screen.
Yeah, and also check out The End of Freedom, How Our Monetary System Enslaves Us, because I talked there very long about, the whole history between gold and paper money. It's very important.
Yeah, check that out as well. We'll put that in the description and the comments as well. As you could probably tell, it's very hot here today. We are burning alive. So until next time, we're going to cool off a bit. This is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.